Well, to California now, where the U.S. District Court Judge Thelton Henderson has granted prison doctors permission to force-feed inmates who are on hunger strike. The ruling says if inmates are near death, the doctor may step in, even if the inmate had previously signed an order stating their intentions and asking not to be resuscitated. Right now, 136 inmates in California are participating in a strike to protest isolation policies the prisons use. As many as 70 could be force-fed in the coming days as a result of this ruling. But is this practice really legal? And if it is it ethical? To discuss this and more, I'm joined now by Ron Ahnen. He's a professor of politics at St. Mary's College. Ron, thank you so much for joining me. So, is there a legal precedent in the U.S. for force feeding?
Unfortunately, there is. It has been going on at Guantanamo Bay. We also know that it's happened in Illinois and in the state of New York. But we're really upset and disappointed that CDCR has decided to go this route. Instead of looking at the very reasonable demands of the prisoners and getting the hunger strike over with, they've decided to play this card, in which now they're going to the ultimate to force feed the prisoners against their will.
And as I understand it, Ron, you're one of the mediators for this standoff between inmates and the prison. Was force feeding discussed at all in those negotiations?
CDCR said that they would not tell us what their plans were in terms of force feeding, so they just basically refused to comment. And as far as the prisoners go, the prisoners are of different minds. Some of them do not want to be force-fed. Some of them do want to be force-fed. What they really want is they want CDCR to respond to their demands and have the hunger strike over with.
Now, administration leaders there at the prison are saying that this is a power grab by gang leaders, this entire hunger strike. What is your response to that?
It's absolutely ludicrous. This is a non-violent, peaceful demonstration of human rights. The leaders got together of these different groups along racial and geographical lines and called for an end of violent hostilities. And that agreement among those groups has maintained itself now for over a year. If you were to ask somebody like 5 years ago if the blacks and whites and Hispanics were going to get together and do something, they would have laughed. But now they have banded together in this nonviolent way in order to demand their human rights. It's the only explanation I can think of is CDCR not having anything positive to say about their system, so they're trying to demonize the people who are really trying to bring about basic human rights in the prison.
And Ron, can you go into a little bit more depth about what exactly this force feeding will entail, how soon it can start, and who exactly will be force fed?
Well, it can start at any time. We have at least 69 prisoners who are on day 44 of this hunger strike. Any of them could experience organ failure really at any minute. Exactly who's going to start, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis, and they're going to look and see. Some of the prisoners have do not resuscitate orders signed, but that was vacated by the order that allows force feeding. So every single prisoner, whether they sign a do not resuscitate, will be force fed. If the prisoners refuse to be force fed, then it will be forced on them, and they will have a tube forced through their nose down into their stomach. It's a horrible, horrible thing to happen. Some of them may be able to force feed voluntarily, that is, by not refusing to take a liquid orally.
And finally, Ron, we just have about a minute left, but I know that one of the things that these people are really protesting is against isolation. Can you quickly talk about what isolation does to them and why they are so against it?
Isolation, it's so hard for us to imagine spending decades on end in an 8-by-foot concrete windowless cell with no contact visits, no phone calls home. They were only recently allowed a photo. And that kind of isolation, whether some prisoners do have a TV, but whether you have a TV or not, there's no social interaction, there's no touching of other human beings, and that kind of stuff leads to mental illness and it leads to despair. Half of all suicides that take place in prison take place in the 4 to 8% of those prisoners who are in solitary confinement.
Wow.
And that's exactly what we need to put an end to. We need to put an end to solitary confinement in California.
Those numbers are shocking. Ron Ahnen, he's the professor of politics at St. Mary's College. Thank you so much.
Thank you.